has gone from booster builder to world record holder, Mr. Ian Lambert.
Thank you, Lee. You just spoilt my talk. Can everybody hear us all right? Do I need a clicker?
Sweat is that?
Yeah?
It's a bit sweaty.
Morning, guys. Thank you, Lee. Lee is somebody who I've got a massive amount of respect for the things he's done, the way he shows up, what he stands for, and what he's trying to achieve. So thank you, Lee, for inviting us. And also, thank you guys. This is not normal, by the way, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's not normal for a Saturday morning. What is normal for a Saturday morning for most people is probably getting out of bed at about this time. Maybe they're feeling a bit jaded, a bit hungover from the booze last night, and they're probably just wandering around a little bit aimlessly, and that's probably just their entire life as well. So just by you guys being here today, you're putting yourself straight away in the top 1% of the population. So it's amazing that you're here. I'm really pleased that Lee invited me to speak. I'm going to talk about 3 tools today that helped me succeed through various different challenges over the last few years. Most people, they know what to do, but they just don't do what they know. And it's as simple as that. Put your hands up if you are guilty of, at some point in the past, just not doing the work. So whether that's a challenge that you said you're going to do and you just didn't bother, or you started and you stopped, or you're supposed to start that business, anything, yeah. And me too, by the way. So today what I thought was, I'm going to talk through some various different things that really have helped me the last few years with consistency, getting out my comfort zone, and just sort of setting goals that really sort of light me up, and just doing the work. So a little bit about me. I am pushing 40 now. In fact, I'm 40 this year. I have a wife and 2 little kids, 2 little boys. I've got 4 businesses. They're all in the construction sector. And I'm very passionate about adventure endurance sport, which I'm going to be talking about today. However, this was me back in 2018. I was in a really bad place, mentally and physically. I was fucked, basically. I was about 5-6 stone overweight. I had a business that was failing. I was heavily dependent on alcohol. And yeah, I just wasn't in a good place. And in December 2018, I was on holiday with my wife and 2 kids. We were in Centre Parks. And I was sat there on the evening and I was watching my wife struggle on. The kids were a lot littler back then. They were hard work. I was sat there watching my wife struggling on that. And all I could think about was, I just need to get out and have a drink here. Like, I need a drink. I actually need a drink now. Can I have a bottle of water or something? Thank you. 2 seconds. Sorry about this. Cheers. So yeah, all I could think about was I need a drink now. So I made this excuse. I said, listen to my wife, I need to go out and do an important quote for a building company that I had, which was actually failing at the time. It did fail in 2019, went bust in 2019. I said, I need to go out and I've got to do this quote. The reality was I just wanted to go out and have a drink, so I left the chalet, I made a beeline to the pub, had about 5 pints in the pub, and then on my way back, I was walking back in the dark to the chalet. I was looking at my phone, scrolling through, and I opened an email from a guy who I'd been following on social media. He's in the personal development space. It's actually how I met and how I know Lee. And the email just basically describes everything that I really sort of hated about myself. It's what Lee was saying before. When something's true, it really triggers you. This email triggered me. I actually reached out to the guy. I said, oh, I'm interested in joining your program. I want to have a chat with you. So in the January of 2019, I ended up on the phone with this guy. And he asked me a question. He said, well, what is it you want to get handled right now? And I said, well, I want to get my fitness handled. I'm really, really uncomfortable. I'm overweight. I want to get it handled. So he said, right, that's great. I've got an idea. He said, why don't you sign up for a charity boxing event? My mate runs charity boxing events. I'm sure somebody said they've done a charity boxing event. So this might resonate with you. I said, fuck that, no way. I was like, I can't even run up the street. My street's on a bit of a bank. It's about 400 metres long. I think the day before I thought I'm going to start running. So I literally got to the top of the street and I was like on my knees, dying. I said, I can't run the top of the street. I've never boxed before. I can't do it. And he said, well, basically, you're not willing to do it. You're just telling yourself a story, you can't do it. So I thought about it. Eventually I said, right, okay, I'll sign up to this charity boxing event. So I signed up. The guy who runs the event rang us. He said, Ian, you need to pay 50 quid to get your kit. He said, but you need to attend the training, like my gym, at least 4 times a week, because we need to make sure that you're not going to get in the ring in 3 months' time and get your head punched off in front of everybody. So I said, right, okay. So I remember the first time I went down to the gym. So week 1, I went to the gym. First time I walked in, it was a room about this size. The boxing ring was in the corner. It was like up a height on a pedestal. There was 2 blokes in there, basically knocking each other's head off. I looked around. There was people punching the punch bags. There was people doing circuits. Everybody in there was fitter than me, better than me. And I remember that feeling. You'll have all felt it when you've got that feeling in your stomach, nervous feeling. And I was just like, I am way out of my depth here. So I went back every week, 4 times a week. I went to all the sessions. It got a little bit easier, but every time driving to that gym, I always felt nervous. But I got to the end of the training plan. I did the 3 months. Fight night arrived. It was actually the biggest event that they've ever done. That was actually the event, so I'm actually in the ring at the minute. There was about 1,000 people there, including some of my friends and family. And I turned up, and I was probably about as nervous as I am now, hardly, because I knew it would be better for me in the future. So the environments that you put yourself in, like the one that we're in today, and the boxing gym for me at the time, it's really important. It's either going to raise your standards or it's going to lower your standards. So I did the boxing and I was thinking, well, I want to do something else now, so what else can I do? So I was speaking to a mate of mine. He said, well, have you heard of an Ironman? I said, no. I said, what's that? And he said, well, it's a triathlon. I was like, right, well, what's a triathlon? So he said, well, a triathlon is like a swim, bike, and then a run. So I was like, right, okay. So he said, an Ironman triathlon is just a long one. So you swim for 2.4 miles. I was thinking, right, okay. He said, and then you get out to swim. It's normally in the lake or the sea. They do them all over the world. He said, and then you do 112 miles on the bike. I was thinking, fucking hell, like, right. He said, and then you finish the bike, and then you do a full marathon, so 26.2 miles. I was like, how many days do they get to do that? And he said, no, that, like, you get 17 hours to do it. And I was like, I just couldn't. I was like, you can't. So I Googled it and I was like, well, actually you can. So I was thinking, I fancy a triathlon, but not an Ironman, because they do smaller ones. But I thought, the problem is, I can't swim. The reality was, I could swim, but just not very well, and not very far. 1 length was probably my max. So I was thinking, well, I want to challenge myself, I want to do a triathlon, but I can't swim. But I thought, well, I couldn't box either, so what did I do in the boxing that I can maybe do with the swimming? So I thought, well, I'm going to have to try and have a look for like a swimming club. So I was Googling around, I found a local swimming club and it was called the Jesmond Masters Club. The clue was in the name that it was for people who had actually mastered swimming. So I turned up, paid my money, got changed, and I walked through the little corridor and I went into the swimming pool area and I turned around and there was a group of people on the side and they were like doing their sort of stretches and mobility stuff. And they were wearing like the proper little Speedos, swim caps, they had the expensive goggles on. And I was like, phew. So the coach came up to us and he said, where do you want to go? So we've got the fast lane, we've got the medium fast, the medium, and then we've got the slow. I was like, slow one, please. So I was stood there. I had my Nike shorts. I didn't actually look too dissimilar to this. I had my Nike running shorts on, which I used to double up as my swim shorts. I had my cheap goggles on that I bought from Decathlon. So I got in the pool and I lasted 20 minutes. I don't know how it happened, but both of my hamstrings cramped up at the same time in the deep end. So 2 women who were in my group had to actually grab a hold of us and pull us to the side. So the first session was a disaster. I went back week after week after week, kept putting myself in that uncomfortable environment, and guess what? I got better and better at swimming. Swimming is actually my best discipline now. And this goes for anything. You can relate this to anything. So if you want to be a property developer, do you think it's a good idea to go and get out your comfort zone, put your hand in your pocket, find yourself a coach, a mentor who's actually doing what you want to do? Or do you think it's a good idea just to go down to the pub with your mate and listen to them talk about how shite interest rates are, how everything's fucked and all that sort of stuff, where it's obvious? It's the same if you want to do a marathon. Do you think it's a good idea to find a running club where you're going to go and be the worst person there and get them to drag you up? Or do you think it's better to go and find a mate who's happy to do a few runs with you? He's not too fast or they're not too fast, so it's all right. It's obvious. You need to get yourself out your comfort zone and into these environments that are going to force you to grow. If you turn up and you go somewhere where you are the worst or you're the most inexperienced person in the room, like, you're in the right room. God, you get right dry mouth speaking. Anyway, I did actually set myself the target to do an Ironman eventually, once I got my head around it. I ended up doing a solo Ironman, so the sea there is where I did the swim. I did a 2.4 mile swim in the sea. This was during COVID, by the way, that's why there's only about 3 people on the beach. They're my friends and family waiting for me to finish. That is actually me finishing the Ironman. Did me 112 mile bike ride, and I did a 26.2 mile run. So I did it in about 13 hours, which I was really pleased with. I then decided I wanted to set myself another little challenge. This was in 2020, so 2021, set myself a challenge to break a Guinness World Record. I found out that there was a Guinness World Record for the longest triathlon without rest, so you're not allowed to stop for any longer than 5 minutes as the actual Guinness rule, so it's continuous. So the record was 180 miles, so I did a 220 mile one. It was a 7 mile swim, which I did in Ullswater in the Lake District. Then I did a 170 mile bike ride, where I basically did the coast to coast cycle. And then when I got to my destination, I did a 43 mile run, and we finished in a place called Tynemouth, which is up near where I live. So I completed that in 2021. We raised money for charity, got a bit of media coverage. So once I completed that, I then thought, well, I want to do another challenge. So in 2022, I devised the 1,000 mile triathlon. So the 1,000 mile triathlon was 30 miles of swimming. What we did was, me and my mate, we hired a van and we drove right up to the north of Scotland in the Highlands to a place called Loch Sheen. It's a massive big loch up in Scotland. It's about 17 miles long, big skinny loch. It's only about a mile wide. So we drove up there, we hired a little a camping pod. So
I spent 3 days swimming in the loch on my own. I swam 30 miles. And then on day 4, I got on my bike and I cycled. That is actually my bike route. So I cycled all the way down Scotland to Newcastle. Then I did the coast to coast across the country. And then I cycled all the way down to just south of Bristol. So I cycled 870 miles. And then on the following day, I got my running shoes on and I ran 100 miles. And I did the whole lot. I finished up in a place called Newquay in Cornwall. I did the whole lot in 12 days. And that was 2022. Last one this year. This is an attempt. So I haven't actually done this one yet. I start this one on Thursday next week. So this is another attempt on a world record. This is the longest triathlon with rest. It's got to be a daily thing, but I'm allowed to go to bed, thankfully. So it's 4,800 and something miles, I can't remember, but that's the distances there anyway. It's 932 miles of running, 3,728 miles of cycling, and then 170 miles of swimming. So I'll start that on Thursday, and that is an attempt. How long? We're scheduled for about 4.5 months. So, it's okay putting yourself in these uncomfortable environments and going for these big challenges, but what happens when things get in the way, you hit roadblocks, the river bends in a direction that you didn't expect it to bend, a bit like what Lee was saying before, things happen outside of your control. When I was doing the Ironman, COVID hit. I don't know if anybody remembers COVID. So everything stopped. The swimming club stopped. The running club stopped. Like everything just stopped. The gym closed down. We all know what happened. I had 2 choices. First, I just think, well, it is what it is. Like, I'll just park that Ironman idea for a bit. I'll come back to it at a later date. Second choice was, fuck that. Like, I'm doing it anyway. And that's what I did. I did the whole thing anyway. I had to do the rest of my training on my own. I did the Ironman on my own on the day that the event was supposed to be on. And I got that done. And this is the second thing I want to talk about today. It's all about consistency. Just taking a step in the right direction every single day, no matter what's happening externally. I love The World's Strongest Man because the kids love The World's Strongest Man, so it's something that we all watch together. So I was watching this recently, and we love the truck pull. I think it might have been a bus this year, actually. But we love this event anyway, and I think this event represents momentum. Momentum is really important for consistency. When they're trying to get the truck off the line, it's like the amount of effort that they're putting in. The veins in the forehead look like they're about to explode. The biceps look like they're going to pop out their arms, and it's just a massive amount of effort just to get that truck off the line. But then once they've got it off the line, it's like it's still hard, but they're just keeping it going. And once the wheels start going round, it's just about keeping the momentum going. The reason most people sort of stop and fail is they just lose momentum. They start something, they stop something, start and stop. Once you've started something, it's much easier just to keep going. If you stop, it's like, an example would be, a lot of us have probably done this before when we started running. So we've like summoned up all this effort to get out for that first run. It's horrible, but then you carry on, you do a couple of months running. After a couple of months, you're thinking, this is good, I'm enjoying it now. I can do 5-10 miles, I feel great. Something happens, you get a bit sick, the kids get sick, something happens at work, I don't know. You stop for a week, a 2 week, that becomes a month. Before you know it, you're back to square one, and you think, well, I need to get going again. Like, I need to get started running again. You all know, like, that takes a lot of effort, and then that first run, you're thinking, why did I stop running? Like, this is horrendous again. So for me, it's just about momentum. So I'm going to go through a few things now that I use to sort of keep that momentum going and keep myself consistent. And these are things that I've used over the years just to keep going, basically not stop. The first one is, and this is a big one for me, Lee's already mentioned it, accountability. For me, you've got to give yourself the highest level of accountability possible. So there's two pictures here. The first one is me in between my two coaches. These guys, the guy on the left in particular with the bald head, he sets my training programs, and he does it on an app called Training Peaks. So if I miss a session, or if I do a session, it gets downloaded onto Training Peaks, and Damien, he knows whether I've done it or not. So quite often, if I've had a quiet week, or I've missed a few sessions, I'll get a little text off Damien on a Sunday night normally, and it'll say, "Hi Ian, just wondering if everything's okay." And that's basically his way of saying, like, get your fucking training sessions done. I can see that you've missed them. But it's also, like, when I've got a 10-mile run to do, I'm always thinking, if I'm thinking I can't be asked, because I'm just exactly the same as everybody else, I can't be asked to do this today, I've got too much to do. It's always in the back of my head, Damo's watching, like, I need to get this done. And it just helps me get out and get stuff done. So that really helps me with accountability. The other thing that adds another layer of accountability is I always raise money for the same charity. They actually asked me to become a trustee of the charity this year. So I'm a trustee of the Dragonfly Cancer Trust now. But Jane, the lady who owns the CEO, she only lives about 5 minutes away from where I live. So when I tell Jane that I'm going to do a challenge for them and try and raise money for them, that's really important to me. And once I've said that, I'm going to make sure I do my absolute best to get that done. So those two things hold me quite highly accountable, and I think that's really important. This here is a picture of Ullswater in the Lake District. I don't know if anybody's ever been before, but it's absolutely massive. When I did my swim for the world record, the 7-mile swim, the idea was to start at the very top, which in a place called Glenridden, and then swim all the way down the lake and finish off down in Pooley Bridge. What actually happened when I started, because I started at 4:30 on a Saturday morning, it was pitch black. I had my dad with us as my support crew in a little dinghy about that size. He was game to row the length of the lake while I swam, because it's obviously quite dangerous. So it was pitch black, and my dad said, "How are we going to know where we're going?" And I said, "Well, yeah, like I should have thought of that, really." I said, "Anyway, the pier is there. I could see the pier. It's got a pier where the ferry docks." I said, I know that we have to swim that way." I said, "So I'll just start swimming, and then by the time I've done like an hour, the sun might have came up and we'll be able to see where we are." Anyway, I swam around for an hour. I don't know if anybody's ever swam in the pitch. It's horrible. Like, it's scary as well. It's disorientating. My right arm was stronger than my left. So basically what happened was I swam for an hour, and I looked up and I saw the pier where I started. And I was like, oh my fucking God. So I stopped and I was going mental. I was like, "Dad," I'm quitting. So I looked at my watch, I'd done 2 mile. So I'd swam round in circles for 2 mile. And I was like, I'm getting out, like, that's it, done. So I had a race stop. And my dad just said to us, he was like, "Ian, like, you can't stop. Like, you just have to accept where you are. Like, it is what it is." He said, "Just get back on with whatever your strategy was." My strategy for the swim was swim for 45 minutes, stop for a minute, and then swim for another 45 minutes until I've completed the swim. And he was right. When you're faced with these sort of challenges and things like that, things happen that you didn't want to happen. I didn't want to swim around especially when I had a 170-mile bike ride to do and then a 43-mile run. Like, I didn't want to swim around in circles for 2 miles. I just accepted it and I carried on with my strategy. So I think that's really important. Another challenge. This was the bike leg of the 1,000-mile one where I cycled the whole length of the country. It was as if there was like a higher power saying to us, "You are not going to finish this bike ride," because the first 4 days of the 6 days cycling were absolutely horrendous. I can't even explain. I went through 2 bikes, broke 2 bikes, fell off twice, hurt my shoulder, the weather was horrific most of the time. It was just absolutely horrible. So I got to a stage where I was like ready to quit. Like I was phoning my dad saying, I think you might have to come and pick us up here because like I'm done. Anyway, I had a text message from Jane, who runs the Dragonfly Cancer Trust, and it just said, Ian, like, we're really proud of you. Your balance, your fundraising totals up to about £8,000 now. Just keep going. And I was like, and then she said, do you mind if I send you a video message from a lady that the charity's helped? Basically, the charity, they support children who are in palliative care, so it's really, really sad. She said, can I send you a video message from one of the mothers who lost her daughter last year? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I got this video message from, I'm getting emotional now, I got this video message from a mother who lost her daughter in the previous year. It just basically said that how proud she was of what I was doing and what the charity did for their daughter and stuff like that. And I just remembered that was why I was doing the challenge. So that's one of my big whys, raising money for the charity. And I just think that's really important. Lee's already mentioned it. When you're doing these things, like, you've got to have a powerful why, because if your why is bigger than the reason to quit, like, you're going to find a way to keep going. And I did find a way to keep going, and obviously I finished the bike ride, and that was that. One more challenge and one more little learn that I've had. When I did the run on the world record, so when I did the 43-mile run, I think I was about halfway, and I started to get a bit of a dicky tummy. I'm not going to go into loads of detail, but it got worse and worse, and I literally couldn't. I'd done about 20 miles, I think I must have had 23 miles to go. And every 2 minutes I was having to dive in, luckily it was at night time, I was having to dive into a bush or somewhere and go to the toilet. We were trying to find all sorts to use to clean myself up, and it was horrendous. It got to a point where Damien, because my coach was with us at the time, he was on his bike, I said, Damo, what else have you got? And he got this box of, he had like a box of COVID masks in his bag. And I was like, that'll do. So, but I've never felt so drained. I was obviously going to the toilet every 2 minutes. I'd already done this 9-mile swim it was by the end. I'd done this 170 mile on the bike. I'd done 20 miles running without stopping at all. And I was just like, Damo, like, I am done. I can't go on. Like, I want to stop. And he said, you don't need to stop. You just need to take it right back down. Just focus on the next step. Now I think this is a really good strategy when if you're struggling with something's really hard. He said, just forget about the fact that you've got 23 miles to do, and focus on your strategy. So the strategy for the run was a 5-minute run, then a 1-minute walk, then a 5-minute run, 1 minute. And the aim was to do that for the full run, which we did. He said, just focus on the next 5 minutes. That's all you have to do. And I did. And eventually, stomach cleared up, managed to get a bit of food in us, a bit of water in us. And by the end of the run, I think the last 3 miles or something, I got this second wind from somewhere. And I actually ran as if I was like brand new again. So that's a really important one. So consistency is key. It's mega important. You've just got to keep the momentum going. You've got to give yourself a high level of accountability, and you've got to be prepared to give yourself a high level of accountability as well. When things get really tough or challenging, which 100% they will, you've got to accept it. Just refocus on your strategy or your plan. Remember your why. Why are you actually doing it? That's really important. And if things get really hard, just chunk it down to as small as it needs to be. All I've done really, guys, over the last few years is just set goal after goal after goal. And I've tried to show you sort of where I've
come from
to what I've achieved, because some of the stuff that I've done at the time was just melting my head. I couldn't get my head around it. But I think it's really important to set goals that seem unachievable. And I demonstrate this all the time in the goals that I set myself. One of the important things to consider though, and I think this picture shows it quite well.
Set your goals that seem unachievable,
but just make the process achievable. Like the goal here for both people
is whatever it is to get to the top of the ladder. It's the ladder on
the right hand side that you want to be going, lots of small steps, and just be prepared to put the work in. So set goals that seem unachievable, make the process to achieve that goal achievable. That's all I've done, that's from experience. One more thing that I want you to think about, which again has already been mentioned today: who do I need to become to achieve that goal? Quick example. So the challenge that I'm starting on Thursday next week, the triathlon, the first part I'm going to do the run. So it's 970 miles, so it's nearly 1,000 miles running. So although I've got a strategy, I've got a plan in place to try and get that run done, I'm not just thinking, oh, how's my body going to do that? How am I going to do it? How am I going to find the time? It's not so much about the how, it's about the who. I'm thinking I need to become the person who goes to bed earlier. I need to become the person who has a better diet, focuses on his nutrition more. I need to become the person who plans better, so I can fit everything in. And you can see where I'm going with that. So who do you need to become? And I'm just going to leave you with that, guys. I hope you've taken something from that, and thank you for listening.
Yes! Thank you very much. The guy, big thing about Ian is today, like, these are